Right. So let me just say that brief intro one more time. We're going to get started with UI UX design. I'm going to turn to the platform and we are going to take a look at what the platform says and then turn to a slide. Okay. I just want to show you guys where I'm getting my info from the platform. And then I'm going to go to the slide. So here it is, UI UX considerations under projects and portfolio. Okay. And so week 3, day 2 morning lecture. We're going to get started with UI UX. So let's look at the slide. Oh, this thing. Home. There we are. Okay, so here's the slide. UI UX. Let's go through each of these. I have 6 slides for us here. What is UI UX? User experience / user interface is what UI UX stands for. So UX is user experience, UI user interface is UI. You guys know that a little bit already since our terminal. The UX UI stands for user experience, user interface. There are 2 separate roles in product development, but they work closely together. Okay. So how are they separate? Did you guys see that meme when we were in break? How there's the design and then there's the way the experience goes for the users. Sometimes they're not exactly the same. All right. So the UX design focuses on the overall feel of the experience and identifying and solving user problems. So it's user experience is about solving user problems. I need to be able to do this in order to solve this problem, XYZ. On the other hand, UI design is all about how the product's interfaces look and function. So the look of the page is UI. The way that problems are solved on the page is the user experience. It is concerned with the visual aspect of the user's journey, including all the individual screens and touch points that the user might encounter. So that's user interface. The look and feel of the website. User experience focuses on the identifying problems, okay, and solving those user problems so that experience is nice and easy through the flow of the page. Okay, so that's what UX and UI are all about. Let's focus a little bit on UX. So UX design stands for user experience, like we just said, and is all about the overall feel of the experience. It focuses on the user's entire journey to solve a particular problem. UX designers consider what steps the user takes, what tasks they need to complete, and how straightforward the user experience is. They conduct extensive user research to find out who the target users are and what their needs are in relation to a certain product. Okay, so as a developer, you will be working in a team with people that would be testing the app, testing the experience of the app that may not be what you designed it to be, but they have to test it anyway in order to assure that the user experience is not something unexpected. So for example, when I was working on a team for a login page, there had to be a tester that would test all types of ways user might use the login page, maybe click the button 100 times in a second and something would break to go in. So that's something around user experience, solving problems the user might encounter that are not intended to be there. Well, let's look at the next, well, before we get to UI, let's continue with the problem statement. The problem statement related to UX goes like this. Well, it goes who the problem affects, how the problem affects them, and why it's important to solve the problem. In user design, the problem statement is a concise description of the problem that needs to be solved. Writing a problem statement at the beginning of the discovery process can create alignment and buy-in around the problem to be solved and provide direction in subsequent discovery activities. So that problem statement, here's the issue. I need to solve this issue in order to solve the user experience in this way. What this is saying is writing a problem statement at the beginning of the discovery process of that problem can fix a lot more problems ahead of time than if you wouldn't have, then you would have encountered lots of errors. So user experience is super important to solve from the beginning. Now let's look at UI, okay? I think this one here, I copied the wrong information, but let's look at UI in the sense of design principles. So when we design a page, we're looking for simplicity, consistency, flexibility, accessibility, the types of font that you're using, and the colors that you're using, okay? So this is all design principles related to user interface. User interface. We want to go through how simple is our page? Is it so convoluted and complex that the user doesn't, know where to go? Is it consistent in its colors? Remember that one of the grading criteria that we had for your yellow belt exam was it used colors consistently. Same shade of color yellow that you'd use on a nav button would be the same yellow that you would use on a button maybe somewhere else on the page, according to the wireframe. So you want to use a consistent color scheme. Flexibility. What flexibility is talking about is somewhere in the middle between UI, UX. So flexibility being, how does your page flow? When you get from top to bottom of your page, how do you flow from the top? Do you scroll? Is it obvious that you're just scrolling from the top of the page to the bottom? Some of the animations can hide that effect. So flexibility is talking about what your page can do, how it can assemble itself. Accessibility is referring to who can use your page, right? So imagine a local bar by your, by a downtown area that you live in is gaining popularity. And the more customers it brings in, the more traction, the more it grows, the more it's going to catch the eye of officials that will regulate and say, you need to make your place of entertainment, your place of your place where you host guests, you need to make it accessible to people with disabilities, right? So you need to build a ramp to your bar now. So for people that can go up in a wheelchair or crutches. So that's accessibility. How does that relate to a website? Well, we need to choose font colors that people can read, maybe people with color blindness. We need to design our page so that it can be read by a screen reader properly, and then be accessible to people that maybe can't, that are visually impaired. They can't see at all, and they would have to use a screen reader to read through the page. So accessibility is huge, because the bigger the company grows, the more it's going to be scrutinized by government guidelines and government agencies to be accessible for all types of people, all parties, right? So even people with disabilities, you need to make your website accessible to them. The more the website gains traction. We also have font and color. So we already mentioned that already. We're going to mention this a little bit more in detail, how to select the correct font and how to select the correct colors for your web page. So there's a correct color contrast, because you can choose colors on your page that don't contrast correctly. It's going to make it hard for even someone that's not visually impaired. They're going to be having a hard time going through your website if those colors aren't contrasted enough with each other so that we can see. So for example, in this page we see here, font color white against a darker, mid dark blue background. So just a blue background. It's easier to see than, for example, a light blue against, see this line here, this light blue. It's a minor color, but it contrasts differently than the white does, right? So the way that we choose colors, and we're going to use a color contrast tool to see if our colors that we select for our page are the correct contrast with each other, okay? So colors and then font, right? You don't want a cursive font all over your page, making it impossible to read. So choose the correct font, and we can talk about this a little bit. I think this is a little self-evident if you don't know what's readable or not. And also, we're going to talk about how you should design your profile page if you are designing a profile page. So I just recently added this to this slide. I got these points from Narciso, and I wanted to just pass them along. they're important because a lot of the time we'll oversimplify our page, and we need to, or over complexify our page. We want to stay to these questions here for our profile page. And even if you're not building a profile page, if you're building a page for a product or a service, this is also, you want to follow these questions as a guide. So when you land on your page, you want to answer these questions. Who are you? Okay, who are you and what do you do? So tell me that you're a full stack programmer. Tell me how you're a full stack programmer. And then tell me also why you should be chosen for your product or your ability as a developer for yourself. Why should recruiters choose you over the others? What's unique about you? So maybe you don't know that right away, then you have to do some self-searching. So figure out what, okay, I have a background in customer service. So maybe I can advertise that part about me as why they should choose me, because I not only have developer skills, but I have, let's say, some communication skills and some service skills that would complement, or, you know, just choose whatever is in your background and find your strengths. You guys know your strengths. If you don't, then talk with your career services coach and they will help you. But tell us why they should choose you on the opening landing of your page, right? The first view of your page. Who are you? What do you do? And why should you be chosen? And why should users accept your product? So this is a call to action, all right? Not just why should they choose you, but give them a call to action, something they can do to continue their search for that developer or that product that they need. So then in this case, I can imagine maybe a button to click to give you a call, or send you an email, or view your resume, or something, right? So give them, it's like a pitch. You're pitching yourself. So give them a reason for them to do something with what they're seeing on your webpage, a call to action. Okay, don't just leave it out there like, hey, this is me, do with it what you will. Tell them, hey, choose me. I'm ready to work. I'm a developer. I'd like to join your project and improve your product. Okay, so these are some principles you want to apply to your page as well. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. I just want to talk about accessibility real quick. Accessibility, that's one of the UI principles I mentioned. Accessibility in programming, it refers to the process of designing and developing software, websites, and other technologies to make them accessible to all users, including those with disabilities. So I already mentioned this, but I'm just wanting to re-emphasize this because this is going to get important later in your careers as developers. Accessibility features can be added to benefit all users, not just those with disabilities. It is essential to factor accessibility testing into the project's testing regime from the start. It can be expensive to retrofit accessibility onto an existing website with a significant accessibility issues. So my first opportunity in the developer world was because a website was revamping using some new tools, and they wanted to make their website accessible. So accessibility gave me my first opportunity. I was supposed to make everything on the page able to be read by a screen reader, okay, along with other front-end stuff I had to do. All right, so this is a basic slide intro. Let's take a quick survey. How well do we think we understand just an overall concept, what UX and UI are referring to, and some basic principles and guidelines we can refer to when thinking about this stuff? Okay, what UX and UI refer to and what they do. Now I'm going to turn to the platform. Some of the information on the slide I found from the platform. Some of it was through some research, and other was through, Narciso is an experienced, seasoned developer. Okay, so this here is talking about UX, UI. Here, we're going to look at some problem statements. So look at this problem statement. This is UX, remember? UX problem statements are related to the user experience. Example, Jonathan, a tech-savvy fitness instructor, needs to organize his personal coaching clients to avoid miscommunication, dropped appointments, and potential loss of revenue. Okay, so here is a problem statement. It's fully descriptive. Who is it that needs to use this tool? And what do they need it for? To organize his personal coaching clients, okay? An organization tool for a fitness instructor. And this tool is going to help Jonathan avoid miscommunication, dropped appointments, and potential loss of coaching revenue. So this is going to really help Jonathan. Problem statements like this help us have a focus when we are working on our project. So let's look at this one. Alicia, the working professional mother of two. This is who, right? Needing a way to organize her family schedule, right? This is what we need. And in order to, this is the why, keep her children occupied in an effective learning environment and give her focused working hours. So who, what, and why. These are what problem statements are going to tackle. And then we're going to write we're going to orient our user experience to solve these solutions. So ensure the scope of the problem or goal is reasonable and achievable. If it's too broad, narrow it down. So you'll see these problem statements more aptly defined when you are in the workforce, in a team, in a Scrum team, trying to build a project, okay? You're going to see these problem statements and practice writing some of your own for your own project, if you're able, okay? If you can think, a recruiter is needing a way to communicate and find a new developer in order to hire new recruits. So you're going to create your website in order to solve that problem, right? Solve someone else's problem who's looking for a developer. Make your website be the solution to that recruiter or company employee's problem, okay? So have your your project, your profile page, whatever you're working on, make it not just a profile page where you put your information out there, but making it a solution to somebody else's problem. Okay, so that's what your user experience should be for your page. Now let's pivot to some design principles, okay? But before I do that, one more quick survey. Do you guys get how a problem statement works and how it keeps us oriented and geared in our design of our app, of our site? Okay, so here is a problem statement. It names who's having the problem, what do they need, and why do they need it. So write a problem statement for your own project today, not after we do our stand-ups, to help you orient yourself and get your goals straight for your project. Now, design principles. Let's pivot to UI. Okay, this is user interface. So we're looking at the way it looks, right? So we went over these principles: simplicity, consistency, flexibility, and accessibility. So we touched on those a little bit already. You can see them defined here in the platform, so I won't go over this again. But let's look at this font choice blurb here. So this says, choose a sans serif font like Arial for screens. Okay. Avoid kitschy fonts like infamous Comic Sans that are not concerned with legibility. And so we want our page to be legible if we're selling a product. Now, sometimes the lines can be blurred, right? Sometimes the lines can be blurred. Maybe you're making a website for an artist or an art project or something where it's not such a professional requirement. Then you can kind of delve into the weird a little bit, but know that you're breaking the rules for an artistic purpose and you're kind of limiting some accessibility there because you're making it hard on purpose. So know that sometimes the lines can be blurred, but for most businesses, you want the user to have their problem solved the moment they land on your site. What is it that they need, and how does your site solve someone else's problem? So make it legible so that they can know, oh, this is my solution. Okay, so choose a respectable font. I don't have anything against Comic Sans, but it's fun to hate on it because everyone else does. So I won't say anything else though. Comic Sans and color choice. Color choice. So this is important. And one of the tools we're going to use for color choice is this Coolers. So if you click here, it will take you this application, this website. And what you can do here is choose between colors that would be a color contrast on your page. So for example, if I wanted white font with a light blue background, I'm going to get a poor score, 1 out of 5 stars, 1.45. That's not good. That's not legible. So I'm going to have to change either my text color or my font or my background to be different. Let's change it from blue to something else, maybe dark green. Okay, so this passes as a good score, white with a dark green background, but it's still just 3 out of 5 stars. It's not the best it can be. Maybe if I make it darker, the darker I make it, the better score I get. And you see the 5 stars, super when I go this dark, but any lighter, green is maybe not the best color to contrast with white. Yeah, let's go with purple, something purple. So I can go with the lighter purple. And so we want our thing to be very good. We don't want just a medium score. Okay, this is still kind of hard on the eyes to see. We want something that's going to be 4 or more stars. Very good. Is a good color contrast. Okay, so use this tool to your advantage. If your colors on your page don't contrast well during your stand-up, I will point it out. We'll point it out. I mean, it'll be hard to see. So use this color contrast tool to help others for your website to be a solution to someone else's problem, right? It has to be legible in order for them to read it. So use this color contrast tool. Cool. All right, so there's that. And we won't go much longer. I know we've done about 30 minutes already. So accessibility and design, we've talked about this already several times. But what we can learn from this accessibility, if we go to this tool here, oh, this is the same one. This is a link on another page. This is the one I wanted to click. Understanding WCAG. These are official guidelines if you want to delve into understanding accessibility for professional setting. You can do some reading here, and if anyone ever asks you in an interview if you know any accessibility principles, you could say, yeah, I read up on the official guidelines because you read through this on one of your lunches that you had an hour to read. Okay, so use a screen reader to read this. I use a screen reader to read. I take the screen reader from a Google tool. It kind of sounds weird, but I use a screen reader all the time. You can start your process of just letting it read to you accessibility guidelines. Okay, not essential, but it's there in your arsenal when you're ready to study it. Okay, and that's pretty much it, guys. Not a very long lecture today. I just wanted to introduce these principles so that as you are designing your project, your page today, you don't go off course and we stick to using our page as a solution to someone else's problem. So we write that problem statement to get ourselves grounded. And then we also use correct fonts and color contrast for our UI, as well as answer those questions that we said here. Who are you? What do you do? Why should they choose you? And why should users accept your product? A call to action, remember? Okay, so with that being said, does anyone have any questions on today's lecture material topic? General, specific questions, anything? Not too difficult, right? Pretty easy principles to cover. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for sticking through this lecture. Not much else to share. We are good to go to do our stand-ups. So we can transition to that now. So thank you, John's class. Thank you for stopping.
All right. All right, everybody, for us, we're going to go ahead and move back to our cohort and we'll do our stand-up there. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. See you, John's class. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm gonna pause the recording. Actually, I'm gonna stop the recording.